One of the most popular questions I've been getting asked lately, especially in my recent content throughout the States, was where's the stick? What accessory are you using? For these kinds of videos that you're seeing pop up on my Instagram account, I've been getting a bunch of questions about like, what is that? How are you doing that? And to literally answer that question, I'm doing it with this. This is the GoPro Fusion. So for those of you that have no idea or have never been acquainted or introduced to 360 content, that is what I'm using. It's not a regular GoPro, it is one of these. The Fusion, which is one of the coolest cameras, which I think is super underrated for what it can actually do. Today in this video, I wanted to run through how I specifically work with GoPro Fusion, how I go about post-producing an edit. Because I had this question, so Eric, and for the rest of you that are interested in learning how to edit GoPro Fusion photos, as well as understanding how the GoPro Fusion works, welcome to this video tutorial. Let's get stuck into it. All right, first of all, I want to give you a little bit of a quick rundown on what this camera looks like and how it works. Essentially, you have to always keep this case on the front of the camera because you have not one, but two lenses. You've got one on the front and one on the back. That pretty much establishes one camera is shooting in 180-degree field and the other field of view, and the other side is also shooting. When you merge those two fields with 180 and 180 degrees together, come on maths, that creates 360 degrees. Now, these cameras are kind of unique. They're very interesting to work with. I've recently just noticed they've dropped the price to about $299, which is an absolute bargain. So if you are interested in looking at getting a Fusion, now is the time to jump. It also makes me think that there's probably something in the works that GoPro have got, because whenever you see a product drop like that, you know, come on, there's something going on behind the scenes. Anyway, so the way this works, it comes with like the camera, it comes with this selfie pole, and the selfie pole extends out. What is happening while you extend out that selfie pole and while I'm shooting GoPro Fusion content is, it is rendering this whole area out of the shot. That's essentially what's happening. When I go to post-produce the content, which you'll see later in this video, this whole area is being rendered out. So there's a few best practices of how to shoot with this camera very specifically that you need to abide by if you were to get one. One of those things is not having the camera bent. It's really important to make sure that the camera is pretty much perpendicular or just in line with the selfie stick, because what's happening with these two is it's gonna render out, I think 8 centimeters is the minimum length that it will render out. So if your hand is here, then your hand is gonna look weird. So best practice is to make sure you hold this selfie stick. Ooh, bit of dust just blew out there. Is to make sure you hold the selfie stick at the very base. What you can do is, this is also a tripod, so you can set it up on the ground, get photos around it. I always have a lot of fun doing that. This photo that you see just up here that I took in Laos, in Vientiane capital, is literally just setting this up on the ground and me sitting like, I'm pretty sure I just sat in front of it and I had, you know, I used the archway. When you are shooting with Fusion or when you are shooting with 360 cameras, it's really, I think, valuable to think about your complete surroundings, 360. If you're going under bridges, if you are like on a, you know, like on a raft, like this little clip here, as we were kind of cruising along down the river. I think it wasn't the Colorado River, but it was in Durango, Colorado. As we're cruising down the river, you know, you kind of get this really unique perspective when you are able to showcase what's below you as well as what's above you. All right, so let's dive into the editing tutorial. All right, so once you've gone out and correctly captured your Fusion content, you've got two ways to post-produce it. I think this is probably the most challenging part of a Fusion in comparison to just having a GoPro, because it takes a lot longer to work with. And I say that because the files are completely different. So the first thing that you can do is you can literally just connect to the GoPro app on your mobile, and you can download like a 15-second Fusion clip, and then you can save it as a video directly straight onto your phone. Or you can do what I prefer to do, which is to take each SD card out of the camera, save it appropriately onto my computer, and then post-produce it through Fusion Studio. So I'll put a download link in the description of this of where you get Fusion Studio if you have a GoPro Fusion, and you can play along at home. When you grab one of the SD cards out of the Fusion and put it into your computer, you'll see that it comes up as like front or back. It's really important that you save this entire file to wherever you want to save it on your computer, but copy the entire 102 GFRNT and 102 GFR or back. So if I go in here and I just go to one of my client work, just some of my client work recently, I've got a Fusion folder here, part 1, which was kind of like day 1. It says 102G back and 102G front. It's really important that you keep both those files, just FYI. Once you've got both those files saved onto your computer, you'll just see that like the files are hell weird, right? They're like 360 files, which is completely different to anything else. The next thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna open up Fusion Studio. Now, you can avoid this process if you're on the road, but you know, you asked how I do it. Anyway, so I add media, or you can connect the camera straight away by USB-C. I'm gonna add media, because I just find this way easier. Go into here, go into client, go into, let's go here, let's go into, what do we do? Southern States, so some fun stuff. We'll go into Fusion, and I don't know, maybe we go into like part 1. When you're importing the file, you got to click like hero file, like just like the base file, like you don't open it, I'll just do this. So click the file where you've saved both front and back into. That's going to prepare the media, and it will populate the clips you've got. So it's a little lengthier process, because what you've got to do now is step 1 is render the clips that you've created, then you can edit them. You'll notice that I never really shoot long clips on a Fusion. I'm only gonna shoot like a minute to 2 minute max, because for me to render in the highest quality 360 file, for me to render it out of GoPro Fusion Studio, a 60-second clip takes about 45 minutes just to render it so I have the file to edit. This is a painstaking process. Yes, the content is super cool, but it does take a lot of time, energy, and patience. I remember when I first got it, I was like, whoa, this is a ball ache. Anyway, it's worth it once you kind of get a workflow. Just understand that, yeah, don't shoot long clips on Fusion, shoot simple clips and think about your surroundings. So let's just have a look at this, for instance. Like, if I was just to click on this clip, I can play through it. It's very laggy because my computer doesn't process that quick. So again, and right now this is showing you the 360 file. This is showing you, yeah, it's showing you pretty much everything, which is, it's really weird, but this is essentially what I would export, and then I would keyframe. So all I really look for is like one little moment. It might be that running scene. It might be a scene where I'm sitting. And you have the ability here to just capture, you know, to render the whole thing, or to just render it like a little bit. Essentially, once I'm happy with like a sequence, which is generally like a motion sequence, like this one where the waterfall is going and I can just keyframe to turn it around, just something which I think is kind of visually engaging. I never really want a big long clip. I just want something which, yeah, just something small. You have the ability here to change the settings. So, you know, you can export it as flat rather than GoPro color, which I think is quite interesting, because if you like color grading, that's kind of cool. But I just like GoPro color, so I'll leave it like that. I'll leave everything as it is with full stabilization on, and I will add this to the render queue. It's gonna give me, ask me what kind of settings I want. I always choose the 5.2K stereo, and then I will create the render queue. And then what you've got to do is hit the render all. Let's jump into Premiere and I'll show you the next part of the process. Oh, look at the eagle down there, bro. It's just flying around. That is epic. Once you got Premiere open, the next part is to grab those rendered clips and add them into Premiere. You'll see here that I've named them. It's really important to name the actions, because you won't have thumbnails populated like other video files. So if you don't name them, they just come out as numbers, and you'll be like, oh, which was the bike riding one, or which was Grand Canyon? First thing that I'm gonna do with Premiere is I'm just gonna add in a 4:5 clip. Yes, I will change the sequence settings so that it just, you know, frames my workspace. Then I'll delete that file out. That is actually a 360 edit. Now, I've grabbed this hot air ballooning 360 file. You'll see that it's a minute long, and I'm gonna drop it in And now I'm gonna keep the existing settings. Now I have a 360 clip. It just looks like a crappy, crappy golf course. But the next part is to add the GoPro VR plugin. And if I go over here and type in VR, you'll see GoPro VR REFRAME. That's what I want. I'm gonna drag and drop GoPro VR REFRAME on it. And now you'll see over on my left, in this window over here, I have all these parameters in the GoPro REFRAME. It's got my field of view, my yaw, my pitch, my roll, and my smooth transitions. Now, if I change my field of view, you can see, there we are. There's me. There's that awesome reflection that you can see at the bottom. You know, and you can just see, if I start to like play around with these, you'll see how they affect the clip. Quite simply, all I do from here is I find like the section that I like. Let's just play it for a bit. Again, it's so slow and laggy. Even on like my MacBook Pro, it's just a very slow process. You just have to be really patient when you're editing 360 content. And that's why I kind of tend to just make single 4 or 5 clips rather than using them in films too much. And if I am using them in a film, I'll export the bit out as a clip, spend some time just finding 360 content, because it's just a laborious process. So here you go, this part's really cool. The sun's there, I'm about to bring into that reflection. And then all I do is a keyframe. So I turn the keyframes on, field of view, yaw, pitch, roll. You know, we hit play. Cool. If I hit stop there and I change the parameter at all, let's just say I want to like zoom out a little bit to like there, it's going to create another keyframe. You'll see that. And that's basically it.
Dude, that is so cool.
For photos, because it's like a still, you know, what I want to do is I want to click this little over capture toggle, turn that on. I have a really bad way of working with the photos, but what I want to do is I essentially want to frame it in 16:9 so that I'm publishing a 4:5 image. So ratio here is 16:9, and then I actually start to play with the, with the parameters right here, as if I'm framing up horizontally, not vertically. Yeah, I just start to play around with it, see where the roll should be. I might bring that field of view in a bit, and that's pretty nice. So essentially, yeah, and then what I'm gonna do, if I'm happy with that, there's this thing, it says grab a photo. So grab the photo, add it to the render queue, add to the render queue, start render, grab now. And all I do then is I send that shot to my phone. Now what you can do is you can do a mobile process where you frame it up on your phone, then you just screen grab it and you can publish it that way. Again, I tend to like this part of the process a little bit better. So now I've got this JPEG this way, and then I'll just rotate it. But it just allows me to have like the biggest and the best resolution image, which I can then publish to social media. If you have liked this video, do punch that thumbs up button. If this has like answered that question of how are you doing that, where's the invisible selfie stick? I remember when I first saw Chris Rogers snowboarding video, and I literally asked the same question. I was like, how is he snowboarding with an invisible selfie stick? Like, where the hell is that? And it's literally, it's this. It's a 360 camera which is sitting there, and it's captured his snowboarding experience, but he's rendered it out, and it's just super cool. I think there's a lot of fun things which are gonna be happening with Fusion moving forward. So it's something to wrap your head around. Anyway, if you have liked this video, or if you want to check out any more of my videos, I'll link them in the description and put them up there. As always, I love making videos on the internet. I'll see you guys in the next upload. Ta-ya.